got bitten by a mozzie on my head. Is Chris Froome natural? I mean, Lance Armstrong weighed in today, and I agree with Lance when he says that Chris Froome is unfairly getting roasted by the world's media. I also agree that cycling is the doormat of professional sport, and any bit of dirt the media has, or they just wipe on that. Why is that? There's a lot of conspiracy theories that cycling in general is a massive threat to big oil, big pharma, the military, meat industries, because when you ride a bike, you do become a little bit more open-minded. Sure, you can still be a fuckhead and ride a bike, but you'll be less of a fuckhead on a bike. It's just the world we live in. When you exercise and use your bike for transport and get around, it's just better communities, it's more fun, less pollution, it's safer, less people die from car accidents, etc. So on a bike is good, but it's a threat to big oil. And who inspires more people to get on a bike ever in the world? Lance Armstrong. I worked for a Trek dealer back in 2003, 2004, 2005, and we sold so many Treks because of Lance. I made my boss, I should say, so much money selling OCLV, 5500s, 5200s, 5900s, 2300s, 1200s, 1000s, all these Trek bikes, the US Postal, Lance Armstrong endorsement, boom, it just walked out the door. You didn't have to sell it. People just already knew what they were going to buy when they walked in the shop. They just want to see how much of a deal they could get it for. Lance Armstrong, big inspiration cyclist. Biggest inspiration in cycling. Most inspirational cyclist, because he was just that inspirational story, that fairy tale. I knew all along it was just a big doping charade. I could just tell, there's no way you're beating Pantani, who's got a hematocrit of 53 or whatever, getting kicked out of the Giro. There's no way you're beating a 56 kilo climber and you're like 76 kilos. It's just impossible. You have to be on the juice, on the good stuff, on the hot sauce. But Lance had big game. He brought that to cycling. He really professionalised it. He made it fun. He made it inspiring. He made it fairy tale like, and he did a really good job. Chris Froome's done a very similar job as well. He had no contract for 2012. He had no contract for 2012, and then he turned up the Velta and ripped shit up. He would have won the Velta had his mechanic put a 34-32 gear ratio in there. Froome would have just spun the fuck out of Kobo. Whatever happened to Kobo? Where did Kobo go? Let me stand down below. But Chris Froome would have won that Velta. But anyway, he did so good that the Sky crew said, we'll give you a contract. We'll give you a contract next year. So he went from domestic with no contract at all, same as Daniel Lloyd from GCN, to Chris Froome could be a GCN presenter right now. Now, that sounds like I'm throwing shit at GCN, but I'm not. I'm just showing the contrast that Chris Froome would have been a GCN presenter or a bike shop employee, which is nothing wrong with that at all. Nothing wrong with that at all. I work on YouTube and I work in bike shops. It's good stuff. So that was Chris Froome's future there, but he decided to do whatever it took, and we did really well on the Velta. He lost it because he didn't have the gearing. Simple as that. Chris Froome would have won the Velta if I was there. I said, bro, put a 34-32 on this stage, the Angliru, keep the cadence, keep the power. You're going to kill him. Done. Deal. Post the results later on. Anyway, so he went back to the Velta. 6 years later, wins it, test positive for salbutamol, excessive levels of 2,000 nanomillimeters, grams per mil, whatever it was. Some people are saying he took salbutamol pills or injections or IV or BB was contaminated. Who knows? We will never know. Chris knows, but it doesn't really matter because no one at the top level is Natty. No one in baseball, no one in swimming, no one in running, no one in cycling. It's just no one. I saw on YouTube there's a guy called Colin Van Monger or something like that. And people are, this guy's natural, and he's making a killing selling bodybuilding supplements, bodybuilding programs to all the fucking noobs out there who go, I'm going to have a body like Colin Van Mongers or whatever, full nerdy bra. That's just such bullshit, man. I got sued in Supreme Court back in 2015 for calling people out on fake Natty crew and all this stuff. This isn't just me sharing my opinion, This is just Durianrider, the 40-year-old dude in his fucking bedroom sharing his opinion. Some people just lose their shit over it. I share my opinion because I want to let people know what goes on in the real world out there, so people don't have these false hopes and expectations. They don't believe in fairy tales. They actually can watch entertainment. For me, Lance Armstrong was entertainment, motivational, inspirational entertainment. I was on my bike more. I'd work on my cadence because of Lance. I work on my out the saddle technique. I work on my breathing because of Lance. I knew he was on the gear, but I'm like, well, I'm not going to take that gear. I don't know what to do, how to get it, whatever. No motivation for it. But what I do have motivation for is to improve myself and so what can I steal from Lance that I can do in my daily rides and stuff like that. So I had the Lance Armstrong mentality, read all the books, read all the Chris Carmichael posts and all that stuff. And I even talked to Dr. Ferrari via email. So I learned a lot because of Lance, and he was a big inspiration. So Chris Froome also a big inspiration. Cadence. I mean, how much has Chris Froome helped cycling? I mean, look at Shimano now. They have a 34 cassette for Ultegra. Some pros run on 40 cassettes, and that's because of Chris Froome. That's because of me on YouTube banging it out, explaining what's going on. No one else has been doing that, apart from people who watch my videos and also doing that, which is very fantastic. Is people sharing the message, sharing the vibe, cadence. And no one speaks about Chris Froome's cadence as much as I do on the internet. And what does that mean for me? Does that mean I'm a champion? Does that mean I deserve a Team Sky signed cassette? No, it doesn't. It just means that's the power of the internet. And we have now media just slamming Chris. If this was 1999 with Lance corticosteroid thing, if this was Chris Froome back then for South Beauty Bowl, it'll get washed over, no worries. But because it's the internet and social media and everyone has got their opinion, including Durianrider, you just get roasted. It just boom, it blows up real quick. And this is just an asthma puffer, man. This is just an asthma puffer that people are putting in their kids' lunchbox. I mean, my mum used to put my asthma puffer in my fucking lunchbox, man, so I wouldn't forget it or lose it, In lunchbox. My mum was doping me in school for running races, man. Mum, what were you doing? Just kidding, but seriously, we were doping in school races back in the day. I got asthma, it's like, everyone's got fucking asthma when you're fucking trying to run as hard as you can. But so that's the crazy world we live in. It's like Chris Froome's getting massive international media attention because he took a drug that every kid at school day pretty much takes, man. I mean, I just go to running races here and I see like teenage girls just like just guzzling the fucking Ventolin South Butamols, man. It's like doping, doping. But it's not, but it is. Depends what rules. Depends if WADA's there. Depends if you get a blood test or not, So doping if you get caught. But and the public's reaction, they just don't understand what's going on. The average person, the average member of society is fucking dumb as fuck. They might be a lawyer, they might be a doctor, they might be a physicist, they might have had an incredible score at Harvard University, but they're gullible and dumb as fuck. Doesn't make them bad people. I'm just saying the average person, you can just spin them as such a fucking bullshit yarn and they'll buy it and they'll believe it. Hook, line, and vegan sinker. It's crazy. Even, oh my God, I can talk for hours anyway. So Chris Froome busted. Is Chris Froome natty? What does this mean for cycling? I think this is big, bad news, and I feel that there's a conspiracy against cycling. And the UCI did try and cover it up, and hats off, clap, silent clap, one hand clap, Bart Simpson clapping. There's a tree make a noise when it falls in the forest, clap. I think the UCI did a good job of trying to keep it under wraps. Team Sky did a good job keeping it under wraps, but unfortunately it did get leaked. And the mainstream media grabbed it and ran with it. They did a home fucking run with it and just stamped on the fucking little mat with it. So yeah, that's unfortunate for cycling. What does it mean for Chris Froome's career? Who knows? He'll get a lot of negative attention from this. But Chris Froome being Chris Froome, hopefully it's water off a duck's back, and hopefully he can just ignore it and just keep on rolling. I wouldn't have employed Contador's lawyer or that dodgy sort of lawyer. I would have got someone who's a bit more full Natty Bra. I would have got a full Natty Bra lawyer versus a half Natty Bra lawyer. I would have got someone else who doesn't have a history as a lawyer, but then again, that's just my opinion. So yeah, Chris Froome natty or not, it's just the world we live in, mate. If you don't win, they'll get someone else in. Simple as that. If you don't fucking do what it takes to win, they'll get someone else in. If you don't dope, you won't cope. When the 7 watts per kilo hammer's getting fucking dropped, and the big money's on the fucking table, and your hemoglobin has to be about 200. Undiluted, what are you going to do? You're going to get on fucking cornflakes and a couple of Durianrider fucking banana smoothie shakes? I mean, you'll get the potassium in your legs, you'll feel good, but you ain't going to be having that 200 hemoglobin. You need to do some crazy shit to get that. So if you want to run that 204 marathon, nutritionally I can get you close. I'll get the glycogen going, but to get that hemoglobin up there, you have to take some shit, man, to be that world-class marathoner. You just have to. Otherwise, someone else will, and you'll be pack fodder. And we live in a world where people have to have jobs, pay for their kids, pay for the mortgage, pay for the kids' school, pay for the wife's diamond ring, or just pay for the food in the belly. People die every day around the world from starvation. Now, for you and me, that's hard to understand, hard to relate to, impossible to relate to, but that's the reality. Google it if you don't believe me. So we live in a world where it's cutthroat as fuck, where everyone has to make money, and we judge each other on the acquisition of meaningless material, fancy, shiny things that are often high maintenance. We don't really enjoy when the Ferrari breaks down, but hey, it's a status item. It makes me look cool against the kids at school, and my parents dig it or whatever. I can get better pussy or whatever, So we have this crazy system, so it's no wonder people take stuff to improve their performance when their very job, their financial existence, their status in society and social media depends on their physique or depends on their ability to push a bike or swim a lap or do a Ironman, Kona triathlon or whatever. So I would say, I mean, we need to have public education in school. If I was a school teacher, I'd be having all the year one, the 8-year-olds, like, gather around kids, and I'll put up pictures of all these top athletes, say every single one of them, juice to the fucking gills, on the motherfucking hot sauce. And we're telling this to 8, 9-year-olds, just so they know what's going on, just so they know. And we'll be teaching kids when they're 12 or 11 how to do a BB. You want to be a pro swimmer? All right, you got to do a BB. Things like that. So it's just, I mean, that's Durianrider as well. But yeah, just all jokes aside, that's the reality. That we need to educate people just how much pressure these people are under, and they choose to be under. But then again, you got the Kenyans, the runners, or the people from certain places around the world, the Thai kickboxers, or Cambodian kickboxers, or the Bengali MMA fighters, or the Chinese MMA fighters are coming from $2 a day, and you got a coach out there that says, "Look, I'll dope you up. You give me 10% of your winnings. We got a deal. We got a deal. Because if you don't want to do it, your fucking cousin will do it. There's 10 other guys in this gym that will do it. So, are we on? Are we on?" So it's just how it is, man. And so Chris Froome getting roasted. I agree with Lance on that one. It's unfair. It's going to damage his career. But I do sincerely, hopefully, believe that Chris can just roll it off and just keep that Sky train going, keep that 7 watts per kilo and that last climb going, and just keep ripping it up. And Chris Froome has to come back to the Giro. He has to win it. He has to go to the Tour. He has to win that as well, just to let people know that I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do whatever it takes, like he's always done in the last few years. He's just smashed it out. And just proven that Durianrider was right and the cadence works, I want to see Chris Froome on the fucking podium in France or in Italy and just say, wait, I just want to say quickly, Durianrider, thanks for the cadence shout out. I want to see that. That'd be good. I'd expect that, Chris. So, I'd expect a bit of that. Maybe unblock me on Twitter. But, yeah, again, all jokes aside, it's just what we live in, man. It's cutthroat as fuck, man. It's cutthroat as fuck. So don't be disillusioned at Chris Froome or Lance or Barry Bonds or anyone else out there who do whatever it took to be an entertainer, be a sports person. Because that's all they are. They're professional sports people. They're entertainers. Sport is just aggressive exercise funded by money to make more money. More people make money on Lance Armstrong than he ever made himself. More people make money on Chris Froome than he ever made himself. More people made more money on Mike Tyson than he ever made himself. It's just the world we live in. So these athletes are merely puppets for the system. Doesn't make them bad people. They just they choose to be there, enjoy the fame and the money and the accolades. But there's things you have to do. There's risks you have to take. There's rules you have to break to get to the top, to stay to the top.